Welcome to the Not a Lonely Coffee Break podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Megan. We're a podcast about coffee and work, but make it queer.
Megan, you came across something really interesting in current events. I'm loving this new trend of you bringing the current events to the show.
I'm trying to pay
I'm loving
attention,
it.
y'all.
I love it.
Trying to be active.
And it involves a pretty big player in the digital world. So why don't you give us the tea about what's going on?
Yeah, so I was doing my typical doom scrolling, gotta do it on the daily.
As we do.
And Perfect Union had just posted something, and it looked like that the CTO of Meta, so his name is Andrew Bosworth, decided to have a meeting about the issues of their employees leaking information about their AI program. So essentially what had happened is that when they were trying to teach their AI how to do people's jobs, they were using employee data. So I guess tracking how they were doing stuff. I'm not really sure about the ins and outs, but they were using employee data and I guess whatever they were doing to do those jobs to fuel the AI's knowledge without consent. So they didn't notify that this was even happening. I think there was it looks like there was over 1,800 people involved in signing the petition, but who knows how many workers were actually having their data collected on. And so they leaked it, and I guess they're trying to do something about it. And so the CTO decided that he was going to host a meeting for staff to remind them not to whistleblow, even though that's against the law.
Right? And it's
Like,
their right.
Yes, I literally went to Meta's employee handbook just to, I was like, I wonder what the wording looks like. It says, remember to direct press inquiries, blah, 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 blah. This policy does not and it is not intended to prevent members of our community from engaging in protected, concerted activity with the press or any other employees related to discussing wages, benefits, terms and conditions of the employment in the U.S. And it says, nor is it intended to alter your rights or Meta's obligations pursuant to applicable laws, including those relating to whistleblowing and data privacy. Right? So it's in their thing. They're like, we're not going to stop you. We don't want you talking about it, but we're not going to stop you. That's essentially what every employer does because they legally can't tell you not to file cases if they're doing stuff against the law. So the CTO guy, Mr. Andrew, decided to host a meeting, and what he said was wild. So this is where the audio is.
Find and fire leakers all the time. We tend not to sue those people, though I'd like to, because it ends up being, it looks like you're just picking on a little guy. I will tell you there's three types of leakers. Some people think they're helping. I think the people who put up, that petition on MCI thought they were helping. They weren't helping. They made it a lot harder for us to make changes internally. They made it a lot harder for us, our company publicly. They made it a lot harder. They made the entire company worse. They made the entire company worse. They were trying to help, but they made the entire company worse. Everyone's worse off. You, me, you signed it, you didn't sign it, you believe it, you didn't believe it, doesn't matter. You're worse off because those people made that thing.
So I'm like, okay, so you're saying they're worse off because they decided to do something like share information that you guys were breaking consent and breaking the law. And now you're literally saying, I wish I could sue you. I want to fire you. And you're making your whole life worse because we're going to make your life worse. And who's the little guy here? Are you supposed to be the little guy in this situation? I'm just so sick of these executive C-suite people coming out and saying that they're the one now who are disenfranchised. I'm like, I don't think you really understand the situation here. And it just really underlines, what we all know is that they are so disconnected from what is really actually happening.
And it's so wild because in our workplaces, you're right. Whistleblowing is our right. But we've kind of gotten into this, I guess, normalization of this toxic, abusive culture where it just continues. And honestly, listening to the audio and kind of seeing what he said, I don't even know what he just said. I don't know what he's trying to say. He's beating around the bush. He's being vague. It was just, he decided to call a meeting because he got his feelings hurt that he was getting in trouble for breaking the law. So even he was vague and saying things like, I don't know, you signed it, you didn't sign it. You either told your employees you were using their data and got their permission or you didn't. Like that's an easy answer,
Yes or
not
no
something
question.
like did you get consent to use this data? That's a yes or no question, and if you answer no, then you broke the law.
Mhm. And it's just like this
Period.
underlying, like this continuing thing that, that's obviously been in our workplace culture for a long time is that employers think
Mhm.
that they own you, that they are entitled to your privacy, to
Mhm.
your free time, to how you spend your time, whether you're going to spend it
Mhm.
on vacation or not. And just like those threats of like, well, we're not going to approve your vacation and we're not going
Mhm.
to do this. And no, you're not allowed to do that. Like, no, like you give me these benefits for a
Mhm.
reason so that I can live my life and still work here. But yet you're going to hold that over my head.
Well,
So it's just
even,
like this
like
whole,
they even, like, essentially make you sign away, like, intellectual property,
hmm
and, like,
hmm
that happened actually when in the position that, you and I worked together in when I, was fired. I wasn't able to clean out my office and get everything. I had to get what I could within the time that they allowed me to, and then basically they packed up the rest of my belongings, and I had to come pick it up from them.
hmm
Well, once I got everything, I was going through things and I realized I couldn't find something that was like something it was like a resource thing that I had put together like over my span of my career. And it just happened to be at the office because I used it as a resource, but like I built it myself. It was something I had worked on for years and years and years. And when I reached out and asked a question about it, I was essentially told that a, I don't remember seeing it, but also I'm not gonna look for it, and B, anything that you did in your time with our agency belongs to us. And so I had to go back and forth with them about like, well, I didn't like this wasn't something that I did for this job. Like you don't own
hmm
it. I'm sorry. It wasn't anything for this job. It was a personal resource, and thankfully I was able to get it back, but, like, they tried to not give it to me because it was, like, the intellectual property type of thing, and it seems like that's what they were trying to fall into this, like, "You signed a contract to work with us, so we get to use your data for whatever we want," and then the workers were like, "Hell no.
yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna
Huge.
tattle."
Yeah.
Huge red flag, though, when you have
hmm
people in leadership who are trying to justify poor ethics
hmm
and breaking the law. There's no justification.
Yeah. Yep. There really isn't. And it just like, it made my day that the fact that he's pissed off that people are bringing this information forward. And then he's going to do this meeting, which is, in my opinion, like a threat
Oh, yeah, it's
to
definitely a threat.
employees, to their well-being and to their employment, which is tied to their well-being, to shut up.
Mhm.
And then it got released.
It's pretty standard to have a whistleblowing clause in employee contract or in
hmm
employee handbooks.
hmm
Whether you're in a nonprofit or like a corporate type of thing, there's usually a whistleblowing clause that like you have a right to whistleblow. Here's kind of the process for that. They'll outline what you should do, who to contact or whatever. And then they also say that like you can't be retaliated against if you whistleblow. And this guy, not only is he violating like the fact that he was using their data against their consent, but also now he's threatening essentially to retaliate. Like, I wish I could fire you, but I can't. I wish I could sue you, but I can't. Like, these are threats. So we have to get past normalizing this toxic and abusive culture where people think it's okay to do that. Because it not only creates those environments, but it also leads us to doubting ourselves. And sometimes that can happen even when we're pretending that we know things that we don't know because we're in a brand new situation. There's been updates, whatever the case is.
Yeah. Which is honestly brought us exactly where we wanted to talk about today. So, whether you're starting your first job, switching careers, going back to school, or just doing something completely new, at today's episode, we are going to have your unofficial new job starter kit for you.
Yes. We are going to be sharing everything we wish someone had told us, before day one. Everything from some of those awkward introductions to perhaps experiencing imposter syndrome. to why being a beginner is not something we should like be ashamed of and shy away. We might also incorporate some fun little games along the way because is it really an episode about workplace if we don't have some sort of questionable team building exercise?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
So let's kick it off, Megan, with some workplace hot takes.
Mhm.
We are going to decide whether these are a hot take, perhaps a fair take, or if we feel like maybe it's just a red flag.
Okay. Okay.
And obviously, listeners, please join in on the fun. This is all our opinion, so you do not have to agree with us. Let's get us started with the first one. So, team building activities are actually kind of fun.
Okay. I could give it a fair take only because not all team building activities are equal, right? Like,
Mhm,
is a team
mhm,
building activity that you're going to take me out to Netflix house and do something fun? That was not a sponsorship, by the way. Just, are you going to take me to this fun
mhm,
escape room where we're going to want to beat each other up? There was also There were plenty of times that I had a coworker say, "We need to go axe throwing." And I was like, "Honestly, I don't wanna be in the room with y'all with sharp objects. That sounds awful because we're gonna be drinking and throwing shit.
mhm.
No, thank you." So,
Okay, no,
fair take.
that fits. I initially was thinking like hot take, they're awful. We hate them. But you're right. I think it does depend. I think I have been a part of some activities that I think have actually contributed to building the bonds and
Mhm, mm,
I don't when I'm not a fan with them is just like doing a team building activity that's more about you as the leader, the facilitator, puffing up your own
mhm.
ego than actually centered around building relationships with your team.
So our next one is gonna be, nobody remembers your name for the first month. Maddie, what do you think?
For the first month, I'm gonna say fair take with the sort of big circumstantial, it can absolutely turn into a red flag.
Mhm.
Because, like, especially if you're in one of those situations where it's like, I have so much I'm trying to remember, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't remember anybody's name. It's gonna take me a minute of us interacting to get to know you, or just, like, building the relationship, I'll remember your name as we go. But, like,
Mhm.
if we're past that first month and we talk on a consistent basis and you
Oof.
still don't know my name,
Yeah.
now we've moved into red flag territory where it's like you're not even bothering to learn my
Yeah.
name.
Oof. Yeah, I have been there. I would say for me, it's a real hot take. I have been in in places where we kind of had a quick turnover sometimes, and
Yeah,
so like, it was sometimes very hard to remember people's names, and so, yeah, I could definitely. I really did try to make an effort to remember my coworkers' names because I really hate forgetting people's names, but
same.
I have definitely been in situations that I have just gotten to the point, I'm like, "You know what? If you don't remember my name, I'm not gonna be brokenhearted about it. It's fine."
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know?
It
I
is what
don't
it
care
is.
about you. No, but, I mean,
You're
as
like,
long as
"I don't know your name either."
either. Yeah, exactly. But and then there's sometimes that I'm just like, "Sorry, intern. I'm gonna try, but, my bad." So, I give it a hot take.
Okay, yeah. No, I feel like so far we've only done 2, but I feel like they're very circumstantial,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
would depend on what kinda setting you're in, because
Mhm.
what you just described, I agree, that's absolutely a hot take.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is a red flag if people aren't knowing your name. I'm always like, "Okay, if my by 90 days," I give people 90 days because that's when my evaluation is over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll give
yeah.
you 90 days, and if you don't know my name, I'm just gonna start looking for another job.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So,
Okay, so the next
wild.
one is, the most stressful part of a new job is figuring out lunch.
I'm gonna have to give that a hot take. Yeah, because there's sometimes I go in the buildings and I'm like, there's not a break room, or the break room is in a closet with
Mhm.
machinery
Yeah.
with a small table.
Or you go to the break room and nobody else is in the break room.
and nobody else is in the break room. I'm okay with that. But yeah, so I mean, for me, it's the break room situation. Like, am I going to have to go out every day? Am I going to be able to bring
Mhm.
in? Am I going to have to go to my car? It is a
Mhm.
little stressful because then you have to figure out where your Zen zone is, right?
Mhm.
Because that's, I got to get the heck out of here time.
Mhm.
I have been in a break room where literally the table is there, I'm sitting down, and then people would come in to come grab their lunch as well. It could only fit like 2 people, and we had like 12 people on this team. And for people to go and grab their lunch, the refrigerator door would hit my chair for them to grab their lunch.
That's not even a break room. I agree. I think this is a hot take for sure. It's a super stressful thing, like even just figuring out like what the norms are around lunch. Like when do we take lunch? How long do we have for lunch?
Mhm.
Is it
Yeah.
okay to eat with people? Do most people prefer to eat alone? Like what
Mm.
is the norm?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
then you
I
have your
agree.
cliques too, because then you
Ooh,
have your
yeah.
cliques, and then they're not
Yeah.
getting invited
Are you
to
eating
lunch.
are you it's very much like school. Like are you eating with
Yes.
the right people?
Yeah, it really is. So I just try to eat by myself as much as possible.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
All right. Every office has one unofficial therapist.
Yeah, I'm gonna say fair take on this one.
Yeah, fair
I
take.
think there's always one person that like they just give off like that safe person vibe and
Mhm.
everyone feels no matter what sort of group you're a part of, everyone seems to like feel comfortable talking to this
Right.
person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. I have been there. Where people have got to be. And I remember there was a time that I was like, man, I know every side to this story and it's so juicy, but I'm just going to
I
keep it
know.
all to myself because I like the way this is going.
I like the tea.
Yeah. So I don't break confidence, but then sometimes I'm like, oh, I know too much now.
Mhm.
And then I have to be like, look, I don't want to know anymore because I'm going to have to lose my job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So true.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I would give it a hot take.
Yeah. So next one, icebreakers aren't the problem. Bad icebreakers are.
Agree with that. I give that a hot take. Yeah, yeah. Because some of them,
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't really put a lot of thought into my icebreakers, but I like building conversation. Right? It's
Mhm.
meant to loosen everybody up,
Mhm.
so you don't have a silent meeting.
Mhm.
But it's like if it's not something juicy, then everybody's just like, I ate salmon for lunch yesterday. Like that's the
Mhm.
icebreaker. It's
No,
like,
I
what did
think
he
it
have
has
for
to be
lunch?
for me, it has to be intentional. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's not just do an icebreaker for the sake of an icebreaker. Let's be intentional with it. Kind of like the first question about team building. I think icebreakers fall into that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
also,
always
do not ask me to share an interesting fact about myself. I have 0.
That's your interesting fact?
That's my
Is
interesting
is
fact
that
is
you
that
have
there's
0?
nothing interesting about me.
That's actually a really good one. Wow, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, essentially that's everyone's go-to, right?
Mhm.
What's your favorite pizza? I think they could be fun. I think it definitely you should tailor it to your crew, right?
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't like spark a little bit of joy for them, you're just gonna have a sheet meeting. Yeah,
If it
it's not
doesn't
gonna be
spark
good.
conversation or, like, giggles or things like that, it's not really
Mhm.
doing anything.
Yeah. Well, we've laughed about all these really, really fun, situations when you get your first job, all the awkward parts of starting somewhere new. But underneath all of those moments, it's something almost really that everybody experiences. It's being a beginner,
Mhm,
being that
mhm.
fresh fish in the tank. And
Yeah.
somewhere along the way, right, into adulthood, we've convinced ourselves that being new is embarrassing instead of exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely embarrassing.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's funny because, like, kids, it's, like, okay for them to be beginners, right? But, like, as we enter into adults, we forget that, like, there's something we're a beginner with every single day, and, like, we have 0 embarrassment when it comes to just, like, personal things, but when it comes to
Mhm.
our jobs, we're like my gosh. But, like, with kids, they try things, they fail, they laugh, they move on, but
Mm.
something happens between childhood and adulthood where we start believing that we should already know what we are doing and be perfect at it. So
Mm.
why are adults so afraid to beginners?
That's a really good question. I think that I do find myself trying to not be as I was a very shy child. And so, like any new situation, I was
Mhm,
just like, embarrassment. I'm like, I don't know what I'm here. I'm not supposed to be here. Why am I here? So, and I think really, I've been trying really hard. Like when I go to networking events, I'm like, you know what? Everyone's in a new space.
mhm,
We're all meeting each other for the first time, hopefully, maybe.
mhm,
So if I make a mistake, nobody's going to know. It's fine. It's fine. If
mhm.
I say something weird, I may never see them again. I don't
Right,
have to email them back. So really,
right.
it's like, but when you're in like that closed office setting, you're just like, I just don't want to fuck up.
No, I think you're right. Like, I think we assume that confidence comes first, but I mean, honestly, confidence comes after you do something badly for a while. Like, it
Yeah.
takes time. I think about like even when I first started training, like people who take my, especially like the trainings that I do, where like I've been doing them for years. I didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
Like people who had me early on in that class in those courses, like they would tell you that I was terrible. But like now, people who take those courses, they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's so wonderful. She does a great job." Like I get really great feedback. But that didn't happen overnight. Like I had to have some really bad trainings, and I still have bad trainings from time to time, but like I had to get into a habit of doing it and figure out what worked, what didn't work. And now I feel like I do have the confidence to do those things. And so like and that fluctuates too. Like some trainings I'm super confident in because I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. And then other like newer trainings or like if I'm teaching a class that's newer to me, I'm going to have that initial sort of like beginner jitters because I'm not feeling as confident in myself because I'm not maybe as familiar with the flow just yet and
Hmm.
things like that. And so I think that's where I don't know, for me, that's my opinion of sometimes where the disconnect is that we assume that we need to be confident right away and have our shit together right away. And like you can be confident in yourself and still need to have
Hmm.
those failures.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
confidence is like I am confident that I will get through this and it will be better in the future.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's that. And then also, it just frustrates the heck out of me when I don't know something, or I feel like,
Mm,
that, when it's just like something isn't flowing correctly. It's just that, like, maybe it's that little piece of me that just wants everything to be perfect. But um, yeah, I mean, so I think that that is what comes along with being your first time in a new space, like there's
right.
always going to be new people, new
Mhm.
personalities,
Mhm.
new things to watch out for, habits, bad habits.
Mm.
And then you have to do on your job on top of that, right? It's like, how do I co-work with these people and then also do my job right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, I mean, I think we just need to also be nice to ourselves, right? We're our worst ourselves, or we are our worst critic. I think we're just beginners at a lot, but at the
Mhm.
workplace, we're too afraid to just say it, right?
Yeah.
And just be honest about it. I know I've seen it lead to like lots of misunderstandings. It comes out as essentially like miscommunication, right? We're not
Mhm.
being clear
Mhm.
about what we're actually doing and experiencing. I'm not saying you need to ask a million questions, but it leads to
Mhm.
those misunderstandings, those consequences, and it'll just
No, for sure. I think, like, why are we just afraid to say something like, "You just used a lot of jargon that I do not understand, what any of that means, because I literally started working here 45 minutes ago."
absolutely.
Like
Like, I'm gonna need you to rewind.
yeah.
Yeah, that is another thing is sometimes you get trainers that are just like they're starting from their day, like from today, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I need you to start me from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll this back a little
Back
bit.
up.
Yeah, back up.
How do I clock in?
Yeah, now where do I get paid? Okay, now
Yeah.
we can move on.
Absolutely. So let's review some reminders for both of us. since we've entered this new job era. And listeners, Megan and I have compiled some quick, what we consider maybe some survival tips that we think will keep us all in check, whether you're just beginning at a job or you've been at a job for a while, but you're feeling like maybe there's some new things going on around you or new people joining your team. So we've compiled some tips to maybe help us all navigate this journey.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm internalizing all of this because I'm still in my 90 days, y'all, trying to survive. So, survival tip number one, nobody expects you to know everything. Why do we think everyone is judging us? But in the reality check, y'all, most people are thinking about themselves, not you.
That is so true. Like,
Hmm.
there are so many times that I can think about a time that I was like so stressed about something that literally nobody else even cared about because they were stressed about their own crap that they had to get done.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so survival tip number 2, and we actually just talked about this one, ask the question. So, during onboarding and even just like sometimes in meetings and stuff, we're told don't hesitate to reach out if you need help or have questions. But how many times do we actually reach out with those questions?
Right.
I will say this, I think for me personally, I used to actually be really good at asking questions. Like, I wanted to make sure I was doing things, I had clear understanding and all of that, but after the abusive workplace that you and I were in, I find that I struggle a little bit more with wanting to ask questions because in that situation, I was essentially made to feel stupid or
Hmm.
like for not knowing something, or I felt like my questions were not as important as whatever they had told me
Right.
I needed to be focusing on. And so it kind of started, I internalized that a lot, I think. And I'm like, am I being over the top and asking this question? I don't know. That's me.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that there's a time to ask questions, right? I've been trained and I have trained people. I think if you tried it, you've looked for it, you should definitely just ask the question. I much rather
Mhm.
ask than try to do it on your own and then fail. But I totally get what you're saying because yeah, there have been plenty of times that I'm like, I've asked you this several times. You didn't take it seriously
Mhm.
and now we're in the situation we are in. And now I'm the one left with the crapshoot. Like
Mhm.
I'm confused here. So it's like I've just gotten to the point that I'm just not gonna ask you anymore. Like I'm done with this.
Mhm.
I'll just figure it
Mhm.
out on my own and do the best I can. But those things are just it's not helpful for you. It causes more stress. And if anything, it builds resentment, you know?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
just not asking it. So it's just, if you tried, you did it. And what I've done, little side tip here is, and this works for me because I'm also, I'm remote, but we work in offices now that have Teams and we have
Mm.
Slack and we have Monday, whatever, all these
Yeah.
things that have chat features and they
Mhm.
save the chats. Ask your question in the chat and
Mhm.
just be like,
Mhm.
okay. And then if they don't respond or they're not like, because sometimes we can't do it over or you don't want to do it over an email or whatever, do it in the chat. And if it
Mhm.
doesn't get answered fully, like you can always go back to that and be like, yeah, they didn't answer it fully, that's why I have another question,
Mhm.
yeah, just do your best, just do your best, guys. Which leads us to survival tip number 3, find your safe person. Every workplace has
Mhm.
one, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But, there always is a person who knows everything. They know where everything is. They know the office politics. They've seen people come and go and they've survived the trenches. They
Mhm.
remember birthdays. They tell you which meetings matter. They say, don't worry, everybody messes up. They're the more friendlier type. They want to
Mhm.
help. They might be a gossip, but they want to be there for you.
And sometimes they can also be the sounding board to like talk through a plan or questions that you do have to like even help you prioritize what questions to ask. If you're like, I know that they aren't going to want to answer this whole page of questions. So can you help me figure out which ones I should ask?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, it's important to remember survival tip number 4, you guys. Your first impression isn't your permanent impression. And that's tough because, yes, the first impression matters and we absolutely want to put our best foot forward. But impressions can change as people get to know you more and start to build the relationships that are needed as part of that healthy work environment. So, honestly, someone who this is like a hot take for me, like someone who isn't willing to change their view of you based on their first impression, that's a red flag and can lead to a lot of issues in the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this goes to a good reminder. Survival tip number 5, don't lose yourself. Underline that. Don't lose yourself trying to fit in. There's a difference
Mhm,
between learning the workplace culture and changing who you are to fit into it,
mhm,
right? Like you got here, you're in this moment in your life journey because you got there, right?
mhm,
Because you got this job, they saw what your value is, and you've got this. So anyway, don't do it.
mhm.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, and you know, this show we emphasize a lot on, being your authentic self.
Hmm.
Not feeling like you have to hide parts of yourself for the workplaces that we're in because we want inclusive workplaces. So don't stress yourself out being like, I have to change my entire persona of who I am to fit into this workplace. No, do not do that. Figure out how you as yourself fit into that workplace culture.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance.
So I think that that's a really good tip for us all to remember and a really good one to, I think, kind of end on, especially as we start to enter workplaces. It can be easy to lose sight of who you are, where you
Hmm.
might even start to doubt your own values and
Yep.
what makes you a vital member of the team. Like you were hired for you.
Yeah.
If we were all the same and did things the exact same way, that would be so boring.
And this world would be gray and sad. It really would. So before we wrap up, let's think about this. What's one
Mhm.
thing you're a beginner at now? It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be a good job. Maybe it's setting boundary. You're like, this is like the first time you're like, you know what,
Yeah.
this I'm gonna be sending boundaries. I don't have to like give them my whole life story,
Right.
right? I'm just gonna give them enough so they know my personality, but I can still like have what's mine. Maybe it's learning to rest, taking those breaks. Um,
Mhm.
Maybe you're new at a new hobby. That one I ring to because I hate starting new hobbies because I hate being bad at things. And then maybe simply just believe in yourself. Like whatever it is, give yourself permission to be new in this space, to
Mhm.
be present and just to learn because it not every situation is going to be the exact same situation. You're going to learn
Mhm.
something whether you want to or not. Let's just hope it's a good something.
I love that. And I think remembering like what are you a beginner at right now? That'll help you hopefully feel more comfortable being a beginner in a workplace because you're giving yourself permission
Mhm. Mhm.
to experience that.
Yeah.
What a great chat today.
I had
And
fun.
some great reminders. It was fun. It was lighthearted. Listeners, I Megan and I would love to know what you think should be added to this list, right? What are some survival tips that you think are also important that you would maybe add to your own survival guide starter kit? Let us know in the comments because we would love to include that in a future episode. Unfortunately, though, I am out of coffee for today. So that is our cue to wrap up. But thank you all for joining us and be sure to subscribe if you have not already.
Stay connected with us on our socials and continue the conversation. We'd love to hear about your questions and your experience with navigating the workplace.
Absolutely. We love social media. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Patreon. And of course, you can always check out the show on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple to continue listening. We hope, of course, that you will continue to join us for Not a Lonely Coffee Break. Again, we are your hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Megan. Cheers,
Cheers,
queers.
queer.